The Passion of Joan of Arc is a 1928 silent film directed by Carl Theodor Dreyer. After having led the French in numerous battles against the English during the 100 Years' War, Joan of Arc is finally captured and taken to Normandy to stand trial for heresy. Not that any of that is explained in the film, because this isn't the sort of film that explains things to you. This is the perfect example of a film that shows rather than tells. So Dreyer throws us straight into the action here. He doesn't even bother with establishing shots, because usually they are necessary in world building and in sort of creating spatial awareness, showing you where people are. But rather than do that, he throws us straight in with this sort of tracking shot. If you notice, the camera isn't just moving for the sake of it. It's moving towards something, and we can see people moving around, and we see Matey here looking over to what it is. So he's throwing us in there in the action with the crowd, and using the power of suggestion to intrigue us, to say, well, what's over there, just like Matey is. And the reason he does that is so that rather than showing us everything, rather than telling us everything and explaining everything to us, he just throws us in there and he challenging us to engage with it further and to put the pieces together ourselves, which is what, like I said, it's showing you, it's not telling you. It's what good cinema should do. Not that ignoring establishing shots is always a great idea. Sometimes you need spatial awareness. Otherwise you have no idea what's going on.
Lock and load!
Where did that come from? But yeah, like in this instance, he's using these techniques so he's putting us inside an emotional headspace rather than outside of it, which is what exposition can do.
Jackson, in my years on the force, I have never met a more dedicated policeman. I know you're a very proud man, and you have much to be proud of. High school track star, Harvard law degree. Frankly, if I had a Harvard law degree, I never would have become a policeman.
Oh, it does to me. Anyway, I don't know about you. But if someone's just basically looking at a camera and explaining something to me, then I'm being reminded that I'm watching a film and I'm not engaged in it. I'm not in that sort of headspace, which is why I hate exposition. And this to me is how filmmaking should be: showing us, telling us, trusting us to go with the film, instead of just trusting us to understand what was being explained to us, like we're dummies.
Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space.
So we're getting a front row seat here at the trial of Joan of Arc, but the most interesting thing about the film is that it's not really Joan of Arc who's on trial, which you can see. I mean, everyone's seen the stills of her. Everyone's seen those close-ups, the longing close-ups that I love. I talked about this on the other videos, how I love shots that linger on the face and make you engage with that. But the thing is that's what the film's famous for. But if you watch it, it's not Joan of Arc that's on trial, it's everyone else, and that's where all of the movement and all the dynamics of the film, everyone else just teaming up on her because she's such a challenge to what they believe. Because the whole film is about cognitive dissonance. That is what it is. Every time they ask her a question, they come in, "Oh, we've got you now, Joan." And when she answers and it challenges them, they back off, which I'm sure everyone sees this most days now, because this is exactly what happens in political discussions nowadays all the time. Someone will say something and then someone else will say, "But what about this?" And then they go, "Blocked! You blocked!" But in this case, they just back off. They back off, regroup, and they attack again. Every time, and they attack harder. They come harder, and they gradually getting closer and closer, and they tower over and belittle her, and they do their best. They do their best to make her feel small and try and break her, but they can't. Every time she says something, every time she says something that challenges them, instead of them just going, "Oh man, maybe that is wrong," they have to twist it around or something. They have to move the goalposts and have another shot at it, because they can't think about what they're doing, because that's what that is. That's slavish devotion to something, like a system, like organised religion. That is what that is. It's not you making decisions. It's you signing up to something and then just sticking to that forever. He shows that slavish devotion through juxtaposition as well. Like, for instance, in this scene, you can see Joan rattling and reeling, and look at the ordeal that she's going through. It's shown physically. Like, a lot of things in this film are shown physically, which is another thing that gets missed. Like, with so many films, just have people sat there and they're not expressing anything emotionally. This film shows everything physically, but then you see her suffering, and then it cuts to these people just pushing pencils, because that's how passionate they are about it. Even if you've just seen these little clips now, you can see that, you can understand these characters, and you can see their arsehole nature from the way they sit, the way they move, the way they look. And look at their faces, they're grotesque. They're like the goblins on Notre Dame. Look at them, they're all craggy and spotty. And they're just horrible. They're just horrible people. Because the way that they act with each other, the way they interact with each other and with Joan, you can see all that visually. And that is the brilliance of it. You know, and that's why, like Hitchcock had said, a great movie you should be able to watch without the sound on. This is what he's talking about. Although that, you know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with dialogue. Dialogue can be great. I mean, The Devils deals with a very similar situation, and that works brilliantly because it has fantastic dialogue.
Through the love of a woman.
We have also letters from women who he did not marry. One of which appears to suggest that he committed sexual intercourse under the very roof of the church itself.
For the love of Jesus Christ! If you wish to destroy me, then destroy me. Accuse me of exposing political chicanery and the evils of the state, and I will plead guilty.
But I'm sure that scene would work as well without dialogue. Let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, I think that scene still works without the dialogue. So the dialogue's just an extra dimension in that case. But that's Ken Russell. He's a great director. There's a lot of directors that don't rely on exposition who can't do that well, and who just ignore basically the fundamentals of cinema, which is this. Not mentioning any names. Christopher Nolan. Look at them. They just keep coming back, and eventually, like towards the end of the film, they're almost pushing her completely out of the frame. Like they just have to dominate her. They don't even know why, really. Just because they've signed on. They've signed on to something, so that's what they have to do. And they'll do whatever they want to get what they want, which they do in the end. Because most of the time, the shits do win. And it's that final sequence that really got me in this film. So up until that point, I was thinking this is kind of similar to The Devils, and it's making me sad, but it's not riling me up in the way that The Devils does, where like I'm in a rage at the end of it. But the last section of this is just so incredible because everything that's been done, all the things I've talked about that are done so well through the rest of the film are all turned up to 11 for the last section, and then there's more shades thrown in, there's more twists, there's people sort of change allegiances, more emotions come, people come. There's more juxtaposition, there's more movement, there's more strange movement, there's just everything that happens in that last section just really grabbed me. It really made me angry and sad. It made me think, it made me sad, it made me overwhelmed, it made me angry, it made me think, and it's rare that a film can do all of those things. You know, you will watch films that make you think, you watch films that make you sad, but usually it's one or the other. It's either very personal and emotional or cerebral. Not many people can do both, except for Keselowski. But this film did that. Yeah, so sometimes I watch films that are universally praised and I just think, yeah, it was alright, it's a good film, it's a solid film, I can see why it appeals to everyone. But not in this case. This one, I just thought, this is what cinema is, this is what cinema should be. Just everything about it works. And the fact that it makes you think and feel, it's just so rare. Oh, yeah. Great film. 9 out of 10. Have you seen it? Did you like it? Drop us some comments in below. Don't forget to share, subscribe, or whatever you got to do. And I'll be back next week with another Reviews on Realism.